Take Me for a Ride, Coming of Age in a Destructive Cult by Mark Laxer. Reading by Mark Laxer. Chapter 9. Off the Map. Something heavy has been going down in the inner worlds, Atmananda announced at a center meeting in late December 1980. Can anyone see what it is? Is Guru coming to visit us soon? Asked one disciple. No. Is the Earth's psychic energy field getting progressively worse? Tried another. Yes, but that's not it. Anyone else? This is gonna sound crazy, said Kara, a UCSD student who seemed entranced by her own melodious voice. But has Guru fallen? Yes. No one stirred. Why don't you elaborate, Kara? Said Atmananda. Well, at first I felt it a few weeks ago, she said, glancing at the ceiling as if she were trying to recall something. I was meditating on the transcendental and didn't see much light, and I just thought it was like me, but it just kept happening, and I love Guru and all, but Months later, Kara would be hospitalized for a mental disorder. You have truly seen, praised Atmananda. My heart pounded. I felt like a bomb had exploded in my face. I saw Kara gazing at Atmananda. It was only months before that Atmananda had asked me to deceive the disciples into buying him a, quote, surprise gift, the new car. I scanned the crowded room. People seemed disoriented. 3 disciples visiting from the Santa Barbara Chinmoy Center kept glancing at the door. They looked ready to bolt. Many of you have recently been having difficulty meditating, said Atmananda in his familiar soothing voice. You've been blaming yourselves, but you should understand it's not you. For years I have meditated on the transcendental, and the room has filled with a beautiful white light. But lately, the light has simply not been there. At first, I thought the level of my meditation had dropped. Intuitively, though, I knew that that was not the case. I could not believe what was happening. I'd never heard Atmananda criticize our beloved Guru. Still, I had to admit that his intuition was usually correct. When I tried meditating without the transcendental, he continued, my consciousness suddenly jumped to a much higher level, as if the Guru had been holding me down. And yet my logical mind still refused to accept that the Guru had fallen. You see, you just don't turn your back on someone you've devoted 11 years of your life to, someone you've loved more than anyone else in the universe. I wondered if a con artist would devote 11 years of his life to a guru. I had to make sure that the negative forces were not playing tricks on my mind, he continued. So I decided to visit New York and meditate on the Guru in person. I found that he still looked like Guru, but inwardly I could see right away that he had lost his power. I wondered if I could have detected a change. When the Guru began to meditate, it became clear he was not entering into samadhi, though the disciples still believed that he was. Nonetheless, I wanted to be absolutely certain that the negative forces were not clouding my vision, so I visited Apeksha, a Queens, New York disciple who has studied with the Guru for as long as I have. At first, Apeksha thought I was crazy, but after we spent hours looking at old Guru photos, neither of us had any doubt as to what had happened. Apeksha now is in a real bind. On the one hand, he can see that the Guru's fallen. On the other hand, he knows that he's not strong enough yet to ward off the negative forces on his own. Richard, who had bought the $1 million center, raised his hand and said, "Atmananda, isn't there anything we can do to help Guru?" "Your sentiment is a noble one," Atmananda replied, "but you have to be careful. If you're swimming near a sinking ocean liner, it doesn't matter how nice a person you are. You'll be sucked under when the ship goes down. You should understand that I'm not criticizing the Guru, nor should any of you. You should give him a great deal of credit for holding out against the forces for as long as he did. The forces are not exactly evil per se. They're merely playing their role in the cosmic game. It just so happens that their role is to destroy light." Several disciples shook their heads incredulously. Others cast a glassy-eyed, soporific gaze at the renegade center leader, as if this were a typical late-night meeting. "In 1985, the situation in the universe will begin to get much worse. A great cloud of darkness will envelop the earth for thousands of years." I pictured the shadow of a huge oil slick creeping toward the globe. "There will soon be sharp increases in the number of wars and natural disasters, and nearly everyone on the planet will be affected. Spiritual seekers will suffer the most, because they are the ones who are most sensitive to the pain and suffering of others. It will become increasingly difficult to meditate, and seekers not grounded in the Dharma will be in grave danger of being seduced by the dark side." Unaware of the effect Atmananda was having beneath the surface world of my reason, I watched his demanding, doughy face and listened to his soothing, arresting voice. "But there's no reason for you to indulge in sadness. In times of great darkness, spiritual warriors band together and fight the forces. This is their soul's work, and therefore their inner beings are extremely happy. Despite enormous odds, they fight for truth and light, and well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but let's just say that the warriors are in for some pleasant surprises in this and in future lives." I assumed he meant that they would accrue good karma. "And I would be willing to wager," he said, smiling warmly, "that they're in for a heck of a good time. Until the warriors are close to attaining enlightenment, they will need a genuine spiritual teacher. They will need a teacher who turns out strong, free-thinking individuals, not spaced-out dependent disciples. They will need a teacher who is fully or partially enlightened and who has extensive experience in guiding souls to self-realization. They will also need a teacher who has had the power to ward off hordes of negative forces." Atmananda reminded us that the powers from his past lives had been cycling through him and had been propelling him into basement samadhi and beyond. He said that he had been carefully monitoring his progress toward self-realization. He had not only asked the infinite for advice, he assured us, but had been reading detailed accounts of the enlightenment process. No one asked to review his source material. He went on to describe the countless inner realms he'd been slipping in and out of lately. The realms, he explained, were so deep and powerful that the man we had come to know as Atmananda had all but disappeared inside the clear light of the void. I was attempting to make sense of his claims when he said that samadhi was incomprehensible to the human mind. Then he paused, slowly scanned the audience, and announced that he would be helping advanced sincere seekers in their own quest for enlightenment on his own. He's on a power trip, I thought. Maybe he's been planning this all along. Maybe he actually believes in it. In either case, you need to realize I'm doing this because it is what the infinite wants me to do. It certainly wasn't my idea. You see, when you reach this stage in the enlightenment process, you completely surrender your will to the infinite. Well, if that's true, I thought, no problem, but please understand that I am not a guru. I am a teacher. How can you tell if someone is your teacher? By how you feel when you meditate with them, by their glow, by how they treat the people around them, by whether they practice what they preach. But you have to be careful out there. You have to ask yourself, are they phony or are they genuine? Are they trying to take your money? Are they trying to sell you spiritual rhetoric laced with subtle, complex half-truths? Well, I agree, I thought. We should watch out, but you have to ask yourself, does the teacher give individual counseling when necessary? Provide a community of advanced seekers? Transmit light inwardly? Teach several spiritual philosophies and disciplines? Point out traps along the path? Ward off the negative forces? Atmananda inundated us with so many details that he appeared to be conducting a lesson, not a coup. Another way to tell if someone is your teacher, Atmananda said, turning toward me, is to see if you have studied with them in previous lives. Several of you have been with me before. Mark, for instance, has studied with me in Tibet, Japan, and India. He doesn't remember very well, but he will. You may have noticed how easy it is to see his aura. He's just saying that, I thought. Yet I had always felt a powerful affinity toward those countries. Several students cast their gaze at me. I felt a rush. I felt powerful. It felt good. Minutes later, Atmananda suddenly grew bitter. Don't think that I don't know what some of you are thinking, he accused, as he aimed his eagle-like glare. You realize, of course, who I am, he added haughtily. Who are you really, Atmananda? I wondered. I felt frenzied and dazed, as if a dark and powerful cyclone had swept Atmananda's train off its tracks, and me with it. I thought about the time Atmananda had narrated at a center meeting the tale of the emperor's new clothes. He had likened himself to the story's truthful, outspoken child. Is he like the child? I now wondered, or is he really like the deceitful tailor? Looking up, I chose to see him as my kind, warm-hearted friend. There are a few of you, he said, who are letting the forces fill you with confusion and doubt. But overall, you're a fairly advanced group and should have no trouble perceiving what your inner beings already know. He sounds like he believes in what he's saying, I thought. Look, you can think about it all you want, but until you learn to see, believe me, you won't get very far. The Santa Barbara disciples suddenly stood up. You folks are invited to stick around, Atmananda said. They stepped outside and closed the door. At around 9:30 p.m., Atmananda announced that those who sought to continue their studies with him should return to the center later that night. Then, pointing out that we were letting ourselves get fogged, he suggested that we meditate to clear things up. Many in the audience closed their eyes to meditate. Open your eyes and look at me, Atmananda scolded. Despite my new credentials as an old mystical seer, I looked but could not see if Atmananda was an enlightened spiritual teacher who had found the way, or a charismatic megalomaniac who had lost it. But the thick fog of illusion which prevented me from gaining insight into his true nature might have partially cleared had I known what Atmananda told Tom only weeks before, during a meditation with Chinmoy in New York. "Have you noticed anything different about Guru?" Atmananda had asked him. "No," replied Tom, who had not yet joined Atmananda's West Coast entourage. "Something heavy has been going down in the inner worlds," Atmananda said. "Call me in San Diego in late December, and I will fill you in."